What is up, guys? It has been way too long since we've filmed a video. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I pointed at camera at myself. But I'm gonna be introducing my new project car. It is a 1999 Y33 Infiniti Q45. It looks so boring right now, but it's honestly gonna be pretty awesome when it's done. It's super simple build, but basically it's just gonna be a stance car, and I'm just gonna be absolutely frame banging in this slab of a car. I just picked this up, immediately took it to Chicago Auto Pros, best in the business, to get some very dark tint. As you can see, I mean, it looks like it's basically black, which is perfect. This car is a relatively clean example. The bumpers need to be repainted, the mirrors need to be repainted, and a couple other things, but we're going to be disassembling this car, getting this stuff painted up as soon as possible. I already have coilovers on the way, 40K spring rate, so we're going to be cruising with this thing soon. And as soon as we get the suspension set up, then I can order wheels. I wish I could order wheels already, but I don't know what the specs are going to be until we get that suspension in and kind of dialed. But we can take a look around this thing. This thing is grandpa owned, hardly over 100,000 miles. Super clean interior, basically perfect. I am not doing a single thing in here except for basically adding sounds. I hate when people do the whole VIP thing. I hate the whole neck pillows, all that stuff. This is basically gonna stay 100% factory except for sounds, which we already have. So I picked this up. It's like a whole setup where you just buy the whole thing and you kind of just can install it. So it's 212s. From what I've heard, it's pretty good, it's pretty loud, and with the factory speakers, it's honestly going to be way louder than I ever need. But of course, we need to add sounds to the slab here. But today, we're going to get as much as we can get done. We got to pull the rear bumper, front bumper, and then this little finish panel here. It all needs a little bit of paint work, and after that's done, we can kind of get this thing cleaned up and ready for its future setup with some good suspension and some nice wheels. But so we should have some more frequent videos on this thing. We are working on the Cressida as well. This project is honestly super simple. It's really hardly even a project. It's just going to be basically wheels, suspension, just lowering it, maybe cutting a little bit. We'll see how far I really take it. But I really just wanted a cool, nice, a little bit more unique project to get out, back into the car scene, out to some shows, and something that I can get done relatively quickly while still working on the Cressida. But James is here. He's going to be pulling these bumpers for me, and then we're going to get these body worked and painted up. I have a couple updates for you guys. It's been a few days. We've gotten pretty much everything almost primer ready. The headlights and all the other little pieces that needed to be wet sanded are wet sanded, so these look 10 times better, just need to be cleared and they'll be perfect. Everything else is all scuffed up, but the bumpers, specifically the front bumper, needed a little bit of filler, a little bit of repair, a couple other things, but yeah, this is looking much better. So we'll get that in primer. Once it's in primer, we'll let that dry, We'll give it a scuff, and then we'll be able to paint this stuff. But in other news, we have some much more exciting things going on. So surprisingly, we got our coilovers in super fast. I think with a custom rate, I think it was quoted for 4 to 6 weeks. We ended up getting these in about, I don't know, 2 weeks. And then also from Japan, we have a Grand Touring grill that came in. It's just much cleaner, looks better. Eventually I would like to get the Grand Touring wing that's on there and the whole back, whatever, if we ever get to that point. But I think that this grill is already 10 times better than this one, and especially getting rid of that ugly Infiniti logo is a plus. I'm gonna open up these coilovers and take a look at them, and I'll show you what we got. So here are the coilovers. There's the rear and the front. The front, I think, have to be welded on. Not positive, but I think they have to be welded on just like the Cressida ones. Not really a big deal, but we got 40K spring rate all the way around. So this is the stiffest setup you can get through BC Racing. I know you can run like 240 suspension in the front if you do something different, and then I think you got to change the knuckle, some other stuff. I kind of just wanted to like do as little as possible up front, especially since I'm able to just order these out of the gate. I don't have to like order different coilovers for the front and the rear, and that kind of just seems like a mess. I really just would rather stay away from that. So I think we're just gonna run this suspension and modify it as needed in order to go as low and get as much camber as we want. But this is definitely going to allow us to have the highest of quality ride for as low as it's going to be. I think that's probably the best way to say it. By no means is this going to be the most comfortable thing in the world. However, I have ridden in cars that have 36K, 50K spring rate, and it's honestly not nearly as bad as you would think. It's just really stiff. But these are valved for the 40K spring rate that's on here, and so honestly, it's as good as it's going to get. But holy shit, this is so heavy. These damn springs, the like diameter of the spring is huge. This is like a truck spring. I don't know when we're gonna put these on, but I'd rather get the car together, get it all painted. I've also got the sub setup done. For the most part, I was just waiting on one thing. I did end up getting a head unit. We just had to get some other wiring together. So I'm gonna toss this all together, finish up the whole sub and head unit install for today, and then eventually we'll get everything painted up and get these things installed. Honestly, this car is going so fast that I don't even think I'm gonna be able to do like multiple videos for most of this stuff. I think it's kind of all gonna be one video, and which is kind of good. But yeah, this project's going way faster than I anticipated. As soon as this thing's on the ground and I can measure for wheels, we're gonna order up wheels, order up tires, and that should probably only take a few weeks, maybe a month. And then from there, it's really just like small stuff. Trunk's all put back together for the most part. Pretty much as close as it's gonna be able to get until we get the bumper and the taillights back on. Alrighty, these are welded up and painted up. I don't really know how much I got. Honestly, it's very simple, very straightforward. Cut the shit, you weld it up, and kind of, that's it. Super easy. I did the same thing on the Cressida. Anyway, so they're dried up. I painted them just whatever. It's probably gonna rust anyways. Don't really care, just to kind of prevent it a little bit. Maybe look a little bit better for now at least. But I put one of the coilovers in, and as you'll see, a couple of parts are missing out of here, so I took the collars out just because the rear is already sitting much higher than I'd like. I have a friend who has the same car, same coilovers. I don't know if the same spring rate, but he said that he basically had to modify the coilovers. I think he had to cut them a little bit in order to go as low as he is, and he's really not even as low as I'd like to be, but he does have bigger wheels, so I'm not quite sure. But as for the coilover, I took out the two secondary collars and basically butted this all the way up, and then since the shock body was actually screwed all the way down into the base here, and then from there I moved this down just so we have that little bit extra in there. So there is a little bit of play. There is going to be that droop, but doesn't really matter. It's going to get us that little extra bit of low, just maybe about a 1/4 inch, which from what I've heard, I'm going to need every bit of it, but we'll see. With the camber that we're going to be running and a little bit smaller overall diameter wheels and tires, we should be able to get as low as I want, but if not, we are going to have to modify these a little bit further and probably end up trimming this here just to bring that down another 1/2 inch or so, but we'll do as little as we have to do in order to get it as low as we want it. As for the rear, we are going to wait until I get all of my control arms in. I did order all the control arms except for the lowers. Hopefully I can get around -12 degrees. I'll be happy with -10, but we'll see what we can get out of it, and if I can't get enough, I'll order the lowers. As soon as those control arms come in, I'm going to install those. I'm going to get as much camber in the rear as possible, and then from there, since we are going to have to cut and weld in the front, I'm going to then match the front with the rear, if that makes sense to you guys. Basically, there's more adjustment in the rear, and then with the front I really only have the top hats here, which would only be a couple of degrees, so I really want to leave them in the middle setting and then get all of the camber out of extending this lower control arm here. I also did get the adjustable arms here. I don't know what they're really called. It's like it's for the caster adjustment, but it came with the kit, and the kit was pretty cheap, so we'll get that stuff installed. We'll get the rear set up, and then I'm just gonna cut this, and I'm gonna move it as far out as I need until I achieve the camber I want, and then from there I'll take that measurement and we'll weld in some plates, and this thing will be pretty much set up to be able to measure for our wheels. Once our wheels are measured out, we'll order those up. Should take, you know, a few weeks, maybe a month or so, and then this car will be kind of getting more towards its finished state for now. Obviously, that's not all that's going to be done. There's a bunch of little stuff that needs to be done. The valve cover is leaking. I'm going to raise the motor, the trans, just to make sure we're not blowing through oil pans. It's just super easy to do those little spacers, and maybe a couple other things. I'm not exactly sure what all is going to get done. I'm sure there's going to be more and more stuff that's going to come up that I want to do, but basically, as long as the thing is set up with wheels, tires, suspension, from there I can do little stuff until upcoming shows and meets and stuff like that. So this project is coming along really, really fast, so obviously the more time I have, the more that's going to get done. But as soon as meets start coming up, I'm probably not going to be doing a ton of this car except for just driving it and enjoying it. Alrighty, I was gonna film this side. I already started taking it apart. As you can see, I already got a couple of these arms off. The other side, I already kind of started getting it back together. But couple of things. I'm just sorting out the rear suspension, gonna get it set up, and then I'm gonna measure the amount of camber here, match it in the front, and then I can modify the front arm, and then I can measure for wheels. However, in the rear, I don't want to say I modified, but I just changed this around so that this was on this side, and I don't even know if you're really supposed to do that. I highly doubt it, but basically I was able to get an extra like ½ inch out of this, and I have about negative, I think 16.5 degrees of camber here. Maybe it's 15.5, I don't remember, but I don't know if you can see that there, but we have that flipped around. And you know what, if this is what needs to happen in order to get the proper amount of camber, I think we'll just run it like this, but I'm gonna check it with that bolt thing flipped around, and if I can get around 12 degrees, 12.5 degrees, I'll be pretty happy with that, and I'll probably run that. But if it's gonna be too low with that thing flipped around, it's gonna be like 9 degrees, 8 degrees of camber, we're just gonna run this, and we'll just stick it with the 15, 16 degrees of camber, because I'd rather have more than I want than less than I want. Also, we took out a couple of the collars, so basically it's as low as it can go in the rear without starting to cut into this thing, which would be nice. We'll see what we have to do, but I think that we might just be able to get away with the way it is right now. As for this, I just have to remove this one last arm in here and just start, you know, putting everything back together, and we can measure it and see if that's going to be enough for us. Oh, I also have to take out these collars. I already started on doing this, so it's obviously not that tall. But yeah, I gotta undo this, take out those collars, install everything. We'll see if we can get enough camber with it kind of in this more proper configuration. But if not, we're gonna flip that thing around and we're just gonna run the 16 degrees of camber in this thing. Now that we have the rear set up, we have it at about 12.5 degrees, which is exactly what I wanted. We could take out a little bit if we go lower and we want to get a little bit better fitment. I can still have that 12 degrees that I was looking for. However, in the front, we are going to have to do a little bit more modifying. So I'm going to do it on the other side where the spindle and everything is already intact, so that way we can measure the camber. We're basically going to be chopping it right here and extending the lower control arm, just so that way we kick that bottom out and get some more camber. I'm just going to take a Sawzall for ease on the other side. I'm going to cut that and I'm going to bring it out until we get the desired amount of camber, probably around 12.5-ish, and then I'll measure that distance, and that's how much we need to extend both of these. Then we can pull these off, weld them up, and we'll have our camber all the way around, and then we can measure for wheels. All right, I haven't filmed in quite a while. We did pretty much everything we need to be able to do the first couple of drives at this thing. I extended the lower control arms, extended the tie rod ends. I didn't show that because honestly no one should really be replicating that, but I did it the same exact way that you do it with Miatas. And then we had to actually raise the front. The front was way too low. It was gonna rub super hard, so right now we're hoping that we don't have to raise it too much more to drive it, but it's super tight. We also forgot to raise the harness on this side because it's super close to the top of the wheel, so we're gonna have to do that real quick, and then we're gonna drop this thing on the ground and at least test drive it a little bit. You're starting to crush.
What, the pinch rod?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Alright, for fuck's sake, just fucking move.
You should see the way it wiggled on the camera.
well, this video has honestly just dragged on and on and on just because we have had continuous stuff coming in for it, parts and just stuff to do. As you see, we just put in the trim in there. I had to wait for the factory trim to come in because I was trying to get some universal stuff from some local auto stores. They didn't have it, so we got the proper stuff. It's in the bumpers. We got the bumpers painted. We got the control arms. We got the coilovers, a new grill, you know, new taillight. That thing doesn't really fit. Got the sound system, everything. So a lot happened in this video. Even the wheels are coming today. So that's how quickly stuff is kind of going with this project. Not even really a project. It's kind of just like a quick little stance project, I guess. I don't know. It's basically going to get wheels, tires, and just lay on the ground, and that's probably all we're going to do for now. Maybe a custom lip because I don't want to have to order one from Japan. But other than that, this thing is set up pretty well right now. We're going to go take it outside, probably get some B-roll, take it for a little drive, and wait for the wheels to come in, and then eventually we'll do that in a separate video. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. I know this was kind of an unexpected project. It's just a little thing to kind of tinker on in between doing some of the other stuff. The Cressida is being worked on here and there. Again, that is just an absolute kind of like side project. That's like when we have nothing else better to do, honestly. But there has been some progress on it. We've been reinforcing the entire flares and everything and kind of just getting those so that way we're not wasting our time with them cracking the filler that's on top of there. But again, we have a ton of footage for that. It's not going to come out yet. Again, I want to wait until we have kind of a more complete video, just like we have with this thing. I know this video was a little bit all over, but that's just because we had so much stuff going on with it so fast that it was like every other day we had stuff to do on it. So anyways, thanks for watching. You know, be sure to check out the next couple of videos while we get this thing on the ground. And it's basically just going to be a very simple, easy project for now. And keep your eye out for a Cressida video eventually. Who knows? Maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, maybe a year. We don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching, and peace out.